All right, I'm excited. This is the real meat and potatoes of the section. This is where we're actually going to be generating a random password for our user. This should be fun. So the flow that we have here is that someone picks how long they want their password to be, they hit generate password, and it forwards it to the next view, which in our case is the password view here. And so it's actually here inside of this password view where we'd want to do the work of figuring out, hey, how long of a password did they want? Was there supposed to be uppercase characters, lowercase, all that stuff. So let's go ahead and work on our home.html to have a few more options here. So the first one, I'm literally going to add more options. So we'll just go ahead and go for a bit here. So I'm going to change this to like 9 and 10. Make this like 11, 12, 13, 14. I'm going to update these values as well. Okay. So now our user is going to have a lot of different options for choosing the length of their password. So let's go ahead and save this, go back to the home page, and look at this. We got a lot of options. Now, it's known that the longer password you have, the more secure it is. It's harder for someone to guess that password and break into your account. So we don't want the default number here to be 6, actually. We want it to be something much higher. So maybe we don't need to go to the full 14, for example, but maybe 12's a really good option. So what we're going to do is after value, but before that ending caret, we're going to go ahead and provide the term here selected, and we're going to say selected is equal to, and then inside of some double quotes, we are going to say selected, okay? So I know it's a little weird. This is how HTML works, but if we do this and go back to our homepage, reload, you can see 12 is the default. And then, we could switch to something else, but we think that's usually probably a good length for our user when they're picking a password. Okay, so that's good, but remember, we have to let the user pick some other things like whether they want the uppercase or the lowercase. So let's learn how to do that. So remember this whole select, this is that drop down. So below that, but before our input, we want to add another input, okay? So we're going to do an input tag here, and the type of this one is going to be equal to a checkbox, okay? And we have to give a name for it, just like we gave a name of length here. So for the first one, let's go ahead and have this one be equal to uppercase, okay? And go ahead and put the ending tag there. So let's save this and go look at our home page. And look at that. Now we have a checkbox, but it's kind of hard to read and understand what's going on here. We're going to go back to our code and add what's called line breaks if you just do a BR tag like this. So I'm going to do a BR after the select. I'm going to do a BR after this. So if we put those line breaks there and we go back to Chrome and reload, look at that. Now there's one on each line. Now still, someone has no idea what this little box is for. And so I'm going to provide here inside of Atom, after the input, I'm going to say something like uppercase. Okay. So I'll go ahead and save that, reload this page, and I can see, that's uppercase. I misspelled there, but you can tell now that this checkbox is for uppercase. Okay, so let's add the other ones. I'm just going to go ahead and copy what we have here to add a few more inputs. So this one is going to be whether or not the user wants numbers. So we'll say capital numbers, and I'm going to put a space after this just so that it's not so close. And then this one we're going to call special, because this is going to ask them if they would like special characters. Okay, so we'll go ahead and save this, and now that we have this in place, let's see what our homepage looks like. This is pretty solid, and this is so cool. Look, if I select now uppercase and special characters, but I don't select numbers and I hit generate password, look what happens on the password page. It provides all the values from the form up top here inside of the URL. So something that's really cool about this is this format is followed on a ton of different websites. So for example, if we go to YouTube, okay, and let's go ahead and just pick a video here, Jet Fighters. So we'll go ahead and hit pause first. You can see at the watch here, they have !V equals, and every YouTube video has a unique ID here. So Like there's this one, for example. If I put in a different ID there, it would go to that video. But the thing that I want to show you how you can kind of manipulate this is, let's say we got to get through the dumb ad to show you this thing. Skip that ad. Okay, now let's say I've gone to, 22 seconds in the video. If I now share this and I say, check this box to say share at, and I copy this, I paste it up in my URL, I want you to notice what we have here. So we still have watch equal or watch question mark to say there's going to be some parameters. So V is the name of the video ID. Then there's also this one that's called feature.youtube or u2.be. That must be some data stuff for YouTube. But look at this T equals to 22. That means to start the video at 22 seconds. So I could change this to be start at 56. And if I hit enter on this, look at that. It starts me at 56 seconds into the video. So now that you know this, look at any website that you're on and look and see if there's parameters up top and how you can manipulate them, and see if you can, either customize things really quickly for yourself or get into things that maybe people didn't think you'd be able to get into. There's just kind of some cool things. So anyways, I just wanted you to see that that's the case when you submit a form, that these things show up there. All right, so we're sending all this information, like we want a password that's 12 long, that it should be uppercase, and it should be special. But how do we create that password? Well, first, let's go into our project and talk about where it is that we're going to be supplying this password eventually. If we go to our views.py, it's this password view that ultimately says spit back this template that gives them that. So this is the place where we'd actually want to pass forward that password. So I'm going to do a comma here so that I can add a dictionary. And in here, I'm going to say password. Okay. And for right now, I'm just going to put in, I'm going to make a variable here that I'm going to call something like, I'll call the password. Okay. And we'll set this equal to just like testing. Okay. But I'm going to pass forward this variable inside the dictionary. So I'm going to save this. This view is now passing this dictionary forward to this template. So now inside of my password.html, I can say something like inside of an h1 tag that your password is : and that h1. And then we'll do an h2 tag here. And I'm going to now provide what the password is. Remember the two curly brackets, and I'm going to say all lowercase password. I'm going to end that h2. Okay, so we'll save this, come back, I'm going to reload this page, and look, it now says your password is, and then it says testing. Now, obviously testing is not the password, but you see where it is that, all of this is happening. It's inside of this views, particularly the password function, where we would want to generate this random password. Now, in order to generate a random password, we need to have some randomness. So we're going to import some Python code here. We're going to say import random. Okay, and this is going to allow us to create some randomness here when we're creating our password. So the first thing is we have to have some characters to pick from. So for example, the base is there should always be lowercase characters in our password. So we're going to make a new variable here that I'm just going to call characters. I want this to be lowercase characters. And I'm going to say that this is equal to a list of, and it's going to take a string and turn that into a list of all the different letters. So I'm just going to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Did you beat me? Are you a faster typer than me? I don't know. Okay. So what this does is it takes all these letters and puts them into individual strings and puts them into a list. So now I have that list of characters. Then what I got to do is figure out, how long I want the password to be. So for the time being, I'm just going to say the length of the password is going to be 10. Okay. Kind of arbitrary, but we'll get to that in a second. Then what I want to do is say, okay, the password here, what I'm going to do, and I'm actually going to move this down so that we can see this all in one thing. I'm going to have the password just be an empty string to start with. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop through for however long I want the password to be. So I'm going to say for x in range, and the range that I want here is whatever the length is going to be, so I'm going to do a little curly there. So this should go through 10 different times. And I'm going to say password plus equals, and then I'm going to add on a random character. So it's like 10 times I'm going to add a random lowercase letter onto this. So I'm going to use my characters here, but first I got to say random dot choice. And inside of this choice, if I pass in my characters, what it's going to do is pick one and put it in there. So just with this little bit of code, if I go ahead and save this, let me go ahead and move my code so you can see this better. If I save this, and then I come back to my home page and reload, local variable password reference before assignment. Okay, so here we have an error. This is something I've made a mistake on, but this is a great teaching moment. When you see a nasty error like this, how can you use it to help you find the problem? Well, first try and understand anything here that relates to your project. So it's telling us we have an error at /password, so that's the URL, and it's saying local variable password reference before assignment. So if you go ahead and scroll through things here, you'll notice there's a lot of files here that you had no hand in making, like a handler /exception.py, base.py, base.py, but look at this. Oh, look, on my desktop, password generator project /generator/views, that looks like my code. And if we look at this, it's telling us that the issue is on line 18. So if I go back to my code, to that file that it told me about, and it says there's an issue here on line 18, well, the problem here is that I've created this variable here called password, but this has never been initiated or created before this. So the problem is I called this one the password, and I forgot to keep that same name here. So this should just be the password. But anyways, my mistakes hopefully turning into a teaching moment that will one day help you as you encounter errors in your own project. Okay, so let's save that, reload the page, hoping that this works, and look at that. This looks like something that was not ours. It might be random if we reload the page. Ho, 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 look at that. Each time we do it, something completely random. Isn't that cool? So, although we haven't taken any of the user's preferences into account, like how long they want it to be, whether it's uppercase, special, all that stuff, we at least are generating random passwords. Like, we have a functional website. If someone came to our website, hit generate password, we would make a random password for them. How cool is that? Okay. So in the next one, we're going to talk about how we can take the preferences from the form and integrate that into the project.